now.
Okay.
All right, everybody. So welcome to our ARE Success Sessions. Darwin Fortuna here, and I'm joined here with Chris Vijalta, who just passed, actually not just, but passed all of his AREs. And we're gonna learn more about how he did it, what he did, how he went about it, his process. Of course, he's gonna introduce himself too and tell us more about what who he is. We have members of the class, a new one, Safa, who's joining us with a great picture here too. And we have Albelis, who's been a diehard member of the group from the beginning and only has 3 more to go. And we're gonna change that soon. So Chris, with that being said, tell me a little bit about you, background, little story, the general, even how you got into architecture.
Yeah, okay. I'm actually getting in pretty late compared to most people. Um, I graduated high school in 2003 and I joined the military. I actually got into an art school after high school, but I didn't know how to transition. I was in Florida at the time. I didn't know how to transition to Ringling School of Art and Design in Sarasota. So what I did was I joined the military and I used the military to be able to leave my living conditions as well as basically pay for my school and like support myself. So did that with the military for about 10 years in the Army infantry, and then found my way back working in like more like outside of the military. I actually moved to Massachusetts for a job in the military to teach Army officer candidates um, at WPI in Fitchburg State. Um, and long ways from Miami, very different from Miami. I actually went to undergrad in Miami. I completed my Bachelor of Arts in Architecture, so it was not accredited um, at Florida International University. And then once I got to Massachusetts, I got hurt in the military during a training accident and then found my way working in an architecture firm because that's what my education was. I started working at an architecture firm in Worcester. And then I was like, okay, so maybe I could do this, like after, 13 years in the Army, I was like, okay, maybe I could do this, maybe I'm not like totally um, like institutionalized into the Army. Maybe I could like do something outside. And then I started working in the firm. And then after a couple of years, I was like, yeah, I'm going to do this. And then I decided to basically focus on getting licensed. So I was really determined to get an accredited degree, finish my internship hours, and then complete all the exams. So I got like 93% of my internship hours through the firm at Worcester by working 3 years. And then I went to Rhode Island School of Design for my Master of Architecture, accredited degree this time. And then after finishing in 2020, that's where I decided, like I was already focused. I already had like a goal in mind. Like most people who go into architecture, they don't realize all the components that's required for licensing. And I was one of those people. But after working first and then understanding the path and my options, I was like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. And this is the order that I'm going to do it in based on where I'm at right now. So, so after I graduated at RISD, I'm like, all right, so now I need to take the exams, find a job. It was COVID in 2020, so like right away, I had to find a job because like, I needed money to support myself. Otherwise, like I wouldn't be able to pay for food. So I found the job up in Beverly, Massachusetts, um, and I completed my internships. That was easy. There was like 7% left, and I started studying using the Young Architect Bootcamp, and I enrolled in that in September, and that was like totally a deep dive in pro practice And like I was doing like, this is like after school I burnt out, especially during COVID, because I had to change my lifestyle and everything, and like there were so many changes, and I had to finish my thesis um, while in my apartment, and I moved, and it was just crazy. And then so I burnt out. I moved again to Beverly, and then I tried to study without being like rested. So I took my first exam. I failed. I took it the week of Thanksgiving, and I used the ARE boot camp for pro practice. I did like 20 hours a week, sometimes more. I followed the Michael Rosica is the guy who created ARE Bootcamp. I followed his curriculum and like followed his suggestions, and I just like burned out because he feeds you so much information, and then like you look at the architectural handbook for professional practice. You use these ARE study programs online, like the free stuff that's offered online. You look at other books. You look at code. Like it's just he gives you these YouTube videos, you read contracts over and over and over. And so I was like, I was so burnt out by the time I took the test and I failed. And I was like so defeated. I felt so defeated, like deep down. And like, I was like, I don't know what to do. Like, so at that point I was just like, well, for now I can look at this again later, but right now it's the holidays. So I'll just focus on being with friends and family during the holidays and like having a good time, getting rest, and then I'll figure this out later. So by coincidence, my firm SV Design in Beverly, Massachusetts was starting to consider like how to increase their retention at my firm. And so like I suggested we go to Amber Books, and I started looking at Amber Books, and then my firm got a firm license for Amber Books. And the curriculum of for Amber Books is like you study for like 2 or 3 months, and then you take all 6 exams in like within 2 weeks of each other. Um, I did that a little differently. And I guess I could explain that as I go over my slides. Is it okay if I share my screen?
Oh, I'm sorry. Before you share your screen, why don't we pause a little bit?
Okay.
Because there's something here to shine on, and it's the fact that um the world fell apart,
Yeah.
pandemic, right?
Yeah.
Your entire world, I guess I would say, has fallen apart a couple of times. One is the pandemic, but before that, when you shifted from the military into society, I would say into a regular, citizen with just paying citizen doing their own regular thing, right? Without being on duty, which I would say is like a shift. So that probably also like it felt like your whole world fell apart because you already had consistency, right? You already had something that was predictable that you knew how to do and that you were doing. But yet, and you shifted from one state to another, and yet you felt a lot more devastated by failing that exam after being burned out than even any of those things because you didn't emphasize any of those other shifts as something like huge. And getting your degree, right? Another degree right after, right? So well, I want to first commend you on that process, but also say, it's really weird how we work as individuals because you've already accomplished so much more. One little setback for one little exam that you burnt yourself out, literally, right? Um, in the big scheme of things, but you did come out of it pretty strongly. So what did you do to be able to get over it? Because failure sucks, right? We all know it really feels horrible. What did you do to be able to get that fail and which is like a punch in your face, and you got composure back and said, okay, we'll see. I took a breather and then get back. So what was the mindset? What did you do on that end? What do you tell yourself?
Um, Well, yeah. So first of all, I look at like even if you look at the stats, you see like 52% failure rate, for like 46% failure rate. Like it's so freaking high. And like all these people take these exams, it's like you're expected to fail. If you go through all 6, you're gonna fail at least once. And I came up with this formula, right? Like you're gonna fail if like if the failure rate is roughly 50%, if you take 6, you're going to fail 3. If you take 3, you're going to fail 2. If you take 2, you're going to fail 1. Like, that's what you're up against. Like, this is the beast that you're up against. Like, no one goes into these exams unprepared. Everybody is prepared that takes these exams, and they still fail. We're all really smart. We're all like going to excellent schools. Like, we like work so hard at these schools, and a lot of us are working as we're taking these exams.
Yes.
And we're really super committed. And some people fail, some people don't. It has nothing to do, like, a lot of it's sometimes it's luck. Like, which version of the test do you get? Like, but like, that's part of the beast. That's the beast that I'm up against. If, you know,
So you
expect to
pause.
fail half of them.
So looking at it now, you're rationalizing the fact that that could happen, and the chances were obvious that you could fail. So
Yeah.
but you didn't just bail out. You continue doing it. So that being said,
Yeah.
you can share your screen. Let me just I don't know if I have to give you control, but yeah. Do I have to give you some sort of control? I don't think so.
No, it looks like it's working.
To be
So
honest, I'm making you co-host too. So
oh, okay. Thank you. So basically, I made this already, these slides in the past for my firm. After passing, I was like, all right, so I need to share this information. So I made a few slides and had like a lunch and learn, and basically shared what I did that was successful for me, and maybe give other people ideas of what they may or may not want to introduce into your own study habits. So like, I had this whole thing where I started here, and then this is basically, I don't know if you've seen this. This is a YouTube by Amber Books. It says 7 things I wish I knew if I were taking the exams. And by the way, I could share these slides too afterwards. I'm
excellent.
not
Thank you
gonna,
so much. Yeah.
yeah, I'm not gonna go through this video, but I'm just telling you what I did. All right, so progressing through the AREs. This was really important as far as like me coming up, like assessing after that failure, after like understanding that this thing is no joke, and that what I'm up against. I reassessed like how I studied. So basically, I was thinking like, how should I study? How should I spend my time and energy? And I thought about, how do schools do it, right? Schools, like, you have a couple months of study, and then you take a midterm, and then you have like a week off, and then you have another couple months for the rest of the semester. You take a final, and then you have your break. So I pretty much decided to do something like that. Okay. But I'm not a full-time student. I'm working full-time, and I'm doing this part-time. So I would give myself longer breaks. So my strategy was study 6 to 8 weeks for 2 exams. And then I would, wait, which one? Yeah, here, this one. This is the one that I did. That's the one I did. I study 8 weeks, and then take 2 exams after studying 8 weeks, and then take a month off. All right. And then I'd study 8 more weeks, take 2 exams, take a month off. And then I just keep doing that. So basically, I would take 12 exams per year if I failed, or sorry, 6 exams per year if I kept failing. So that's fine. Like, as long as I had a system, and I just like repeat it, just like follow the pattern, don't even think about it, just like keep trying, keep trying, keep trying. Okay, so the way I scheduled those 2 exams was based on this matrix. And then I looked like, all right, so if I start with, PPD or PDD, that means I have to study all these topics here: systems, construction, site, codes, pro practice, So then what I did was I went for the exams first that I had to study the least. I'm still going to have to study a lot, but I won't have to know as much. So I studied, I failed PCM the first time I took it. And then the second time I took the exam, I was going to do, just like I said, I studied 8 weeks, and then I took 2 exams. and then I took a month off, and I really stuck to that. If I was successful, I still took a month off. If I failed, I still took a month off, and I still celebrated after taking the exams. Like I would fail an exam, I would still like go out for dinner, you know, like whatever, like relax, decompress, whatever I had to, I would still celebrate, you know, because this is like a long-term thing. Like it's not gonna,
So the thing is, this is really the perfection of enjoy the journey and trust the process, right? So
yeah,
you were
yeah,
literally, this is the process I'm going to go through,
yeah,
and that's it. So you
yeah,
didn't change your routines, you didn't change what happened after the exam, you didn't change, literally nothing changed. Pass or
yeah,
fail, you acted like a robot, literally.
exactly. Yeah, yeah,
I guess that's where the military training comes into play. You're like, I am going through this, and that's all I'm going to do. And
yeah,
fail, pass, whatever it is, I am just going through this. So this is
right.
almost like rule-based process, rule-based, or
Yeah,
almost an algorithm. You're following certain parameters, and those are the parameters that you're going to
yeah,
go through. And I like that. This is something completely new. I have never seen it. I think we all do it differently though, in some way or
mhm,
another.
yeah.
Like I would actually, every time I pass an exam, I would actually go to IHOP. Like that was my thing. I would go to IHOP,
Yeah.
and me, my ex-wife, my kids, we will all go to IHOP. That was the thing. I'll get balloons too. Like they always got me balloons. So
Yeah,
that was a thing where we would always do, and it felt really good.
yeah,
There were other things I would do too. I would record myself rehearsing the exam after the exam. Always like I did this thing saying, if I was to be able to travel in the future or in the past, and I wanted to tell Darwin Fortuna what he's going to face in the areas, which was a funny thing. Which is kind of what I just said, like at the beginning, things I wish I knew. So I did something like that, and we have a recording of that, like things I wish I knew. So I really love that part of the process. I love this matrix. I have never seen this matrix before.
yeah.
We have our own process of how I recommend what exam when, which I would say aligns to this, even though I didn't do the matrix. I just
Mhm,
aligned to what overlaps a lot. So,
yeah,
but yeah, that was really, really good that you were, you're following this process, even the celebrations, even the breaks.
yeah.
So, and the other thing is, you didn't set yourself a timeline for when you were gonna be licensed by?
No, I was just gonna keep going
Huh.
until I passed everything. It's like, follow the schedule, do the same cycle, and if you fail one, just keep going. Like, don't don't look at the deadline, more just like focus on doing the cycle. It's like being in school in a way,
So
like still
yeah,
being in school.
that was really interesting because well, even when you're at school though, you're thinking I am graduating by
Yeah,
X and X, right? So
yeah.
you do have a deadline in your mind as to when you're going to graduate, and
Hmm.
the semester ends X, so there is a goal to this end. So in
Yeah,
your case, the goal wasn't am I gonna pass all of them at once, or am I gonna pass one and fail? Is I'm going to eventually pass all of them.
right.
Period. That's it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And
That's really cool.
yeah. And it worked. It's crazy. But the thing is that like I built in that break, and the building in the break was like so key. Like saying, after I go through the exams, I would take notes after I go through. I'd be like, oh, this was on the exam, this was on the exam. But then after that, I would never look at it for like a month. And then after a month, I'd be like,
So
okay, it's
you
time.
literally then look at anything after if you whether you pass or fail, you would take the break, right? So the
Yeah.
break it was like a mandatory break. I
Yeah.
guess you learn from burning out, from going to school and then
Yeah.
doing Mike's program and then being like, dude, like I haven't lived life. Like, I've been just
Yeah.
working. So
Right.
okay, so I guess the pandemic helped because it was a forced
Mhm.
reset in your own mindset, probably, right? I think a lot of people don't see
Yeah.
the positive of the pandemic. I think there's been a big positive on the pandemic. In fact, you mentioned earlier things that your firm was doing for retention. I'll tell you, the pandemic has forced firm owners like myself to think about retention and to think
Yeah.
about long term and to think about accommodations so that we
Yeah.
can build a legacy, not just necessarily like a profit pipeline. It's more of a
Yeah.
legacy over time.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's really, really good. So I'm excited. Again, love the matrix, love the process. It was trust the process. It was, break whether you like it or not. You took the break right after the exams. And what did you do? Did you travel? Did you just literally didn't deal with it? Did you just kept working? What do you do? Did you take an actual little vacation or took some
I
time
might
off from work, or what do you do?
maybe well, yeah, like so I might have in that month period, I might have like a trip or something like that, like whatever falls on schedule. If it's like the middle of winter, I might go to like Florida, or like, if I'm also in the National Guard too, which is the part-time army still. So I'm still in, but it's not full time. So I'm working towards my pension. That's why I don't want to just like give up all the time that I did in it. Like, I'm working towards retirement so I can get that benefit after I'm done with the military. But anyways, like, so I have
By the
to go
way, you
away.
you probably have heard this. Well, you have a tremendous head over your shoulder, buddy. You really think, I mean, a lot of people like lose their composure and like, screw this. I'm not doing anything with the military, or I'm not doing. You really, what you've been doing in your career, it looks like, and like little bit I know, is that you've planted seeds and you are literally waiting to reap out the fruits of those seeds. And you're like, I have
Mhm.
already watered that seed. I have already put sun into that seed, and I'm not walking away until that seed actually flourishes. And that's it.
Yeah.
And that's my life. You know what? And that's the life I love. So I mean, it's not like you do a lot of things. I think you just surround yourself with the few things that you really want to be doing and that you've got into, and you're like, well, that's the script of my life. And you've
Yeah.
already just stuck to it. So it will be very on you to get out of character, like, do something completely, you know what I mean? Like, oh, like you are on character 24/7, right? Like that's I mean, again, going back from moving from one state to another, staying within the arts, which you like that arts part, you did the bachelor's
Yeah.
of science and architecture, or and then coming here and doing that shift for work, but also continue with the architectural sort of life. Went to a really good school, by the way, because it's one of the best ones too. RISD is amazing. Um, and continue with the character. So why am I emphasizing this on this video recorded? It's because a lot of people lack, like, to be successful. I don't want to sound like a broken record, but to be successful, you just have to. There are a couple little things you do, and if you do those things, and I always say, number one, show up. I always say, show up. Like, if you don't show up, you're never gonna make it.
Yep. Yep.
And
That's
then and
one.
then and then show up with some sort of plan of what you think's gonna happen. Why? Well, because it's better than not have anything in mind. It's like, and then once you come up with the plan and adapt to the situation, just follow through with what you want to get out of it. This is what I want to get out of it.
So
So
true.
and then don't give up until you do it. And it really, that's how I've gotten everything I've ever gotten. There's nothing. It's the same thing since I landed in the United States in 2010 with very very little English. It's been the same thing for everything. And anybody that we hire at Flow, I see it. We just lost Yvonne Perez from one of amazing designer. She's got all the traits, like you see all those traits, and those people just really make it anywhere in life. To some extent, you don't have to be 100% like that, but at least 80% is good. But yeah, thank you, man. That's really good. So now you can continue. Sorry.
No, it's all good. Thank you for acknowledging that. I don't acknowledge it for myself, so it's good to hear from someone else because I never give myself credit. I'm always like criticizing myself, but no. Anyways, so like based on this chart, which is actually from Amber Books, that's where I got it from. Maybe that's why you haven't seen it. It's the Amber Books flow chart for study priority. So I use this chart, and then based on, like I didn't start with PDD, PPD, because then I have to study with like 5 different areas. It actually, PDD, PPD, I actually have pro practice questions in them. Like I don't know why this chart doesn't have this bubbled. It's like it covers all the topics for both of those. Anyways, so first 2 I studied was PCM, PGAM, okay, because they are very similar. They have overlap with topics. That's what I mean by they're different, but they overlap in topics. Each test is different, but There's some overlap. And then after that, I studied PA and CE. So you see, I studied a little more, and then a little more. And then last two, I studied PPD, PDD. So when I did pro practice boot camp with Michael Rasica's program, it was, again, like a super deep dive. It covered PCM, PGM material. Super, I was like burning out. I studied so hard, so much. So I covered this material so many times, the pro practice material, and then I failed. And then I went back to it. And then I went through the Amber Books pro practice material like 3 times, including the flashcards and the practice exam. Like I did it all 3 times. Okay. And then I passed them. Next, I did programming and analysis, and then construction and evaluation. But I studied all the pro practice again. When I did PA and CE, I studied pro practice again, like 2 more times. But then I also did codes, and then I also did site, right? So like, it's all the repetition. Like I repeat the information, like beat it into my head over and over and over again. Just go through it. And then last 2, I did PDD and PPD. I did pro practice again, and then I did codes again. Then I did site again, and then new materials were construction and systems. So by the time I completed all the exams, I must have done pro practice like 10 times. Like, I'm not even kidding. Because like every time I'm taking a new test, I go through the material again. Because there's like PDD, PPD includes pro practice questions. Like, there wasn't many, but they were still there. And that's just more opportunities. If I repeat the information, that means it's going to stick better, and that means there's a higher chance I'm going to get it right. You know.
So you didn't necessarily go through the things that you struggled with and repeat those and study only the things that you didn't know. You would study everything, like if
everything.
it was from
everything, and then I would study everything, and then I would take a practice test, and then look at the results of the practice test, and then really hit hard the questions that I got wrong. And then I study everything again, take the practice test, review my answers of the practice test, and then the same thing. So it's like, the cycle of doing 2 weeks, or sorry, doing 8 weeks, study, take 2 tests, and then a month break. There was like a smaller cycle in that where I'm like, study all the material, take the practice exam, deep dive in the questions I got wrong, study all the material, take the practice exam, deep dive in the questions I got wrong, like over and over, just like the repetition. And then
this, sorry to
yeah.
this reminds me, I always also compare these processes to athletes. So, Kobe Bryant's, Albert Pujols in baseball, they, and this, I'm going to put it together. So they want to be the best players. It's not about winning a game. It's actually about being the best player you could possibly be. So, so Kobe would shoot from the places where he makes the points, but he also will shoot a lot from the places that he didn't make the points. And he will do moves and things that he would try that were all about being a great player. When people take the AREs, and this is what I did, I knew I was going to own a practice. And that's probably the best way to take the exams, thinking, what if I have to do it all alone, right? You will try to become the best architect you potentially could become as an individual. So that also makes it that you have areas that you're super, super strong, but the ones that you're weak, you're not that weak either, because you've tried to become a well-rounded architect. And that's one thing I want to hammer with people. A lot of people, don't even care about going through the materials. They want the shortcuts. They want the easy way out. They want the answers. Some people have DM me like, hey, what are the answers? Where's this? I'm like, dude, you're not going to get answers from me. Even if I knew them, and I don't, I won't give them to you, because that's not going to make you a well-rounded architect. And at the end of the day, I want to build a pipeline of architects. And you can't build a weak pipeline of architects. I'm not going to allow that to happen, not within my watch. So So that's the way you did it. You fill all the voids to the point where everything is filled up, you know? So, I'm gonna ask more specific questions, but I'm getting through your process. So I want to know how many times you pass, how many times you fail, which one you fail. You know what I mean? Like, want to
Yeah.
know more about that
Well,
stuff, all right?
honestly, like I only failed the first one. I only failed practice management, the one that I took before Thanksgiving of 2020. And then after that, using this study approach, I started passing all of them.
You see,
At,
it
as I
doesn't
went through.
surprise me. I probably would have expected one more fail, but it doesn't surprise me that you didn't fail anymore after that. Why doesn't it surprise me? Well, one, I know what you came out of when you started studying for these areas. You know what I mean? You tested the waters, you tested the grounds, you figure out what your tolerances levels are, what you really like. I can't do this anymore. You know what I mean? So you didn't just go all in on Mike anymore. You know, you're like, I'm not gonna load up on Young Architects, group. It's gonna bombard me. So I'm gonna find my pace and I'm gonna stick to it. You know what I mean? So I like that, and that's. By the way, this is very generous. The way you studied, it was very generous. The way you prepared. So how far apart were you taking exams? So you would take two
Yeah,
every 3 months,
every roughly 4 months.
4 months. Yeah.
Because like I gave myself extra break in the summer.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's summer, because
And you
summer is
will
short
pair
in
them
Boston.
according to this diagram, what was making
Yeah,
sense. So the
yeah.
first one you took, which I would say was a trial test, was practice management, right?
The one I failed first, yeah, practice management.
So that was a little trial, and it makes sense to
Yeah.
fail it too. You don't know anything about running a practice when you get out of college. So like, come on. So okay, but then so maybe you've already said it, but I just want to reiterate. So what did you take right after that?
So yeah, then I took so I failed it in Thanksgiving. Then I took the next exam in March, and I took PJM. So I was like, I didn't want to see practice management again.
I know you
And then
don't.
I took PJM, and then I passed that. But I already scheduled PJM and PCM a week apart. So I gave myself a week to after the exam, I would give myself a week to kind of get back into studying to prepare for the next one.
Mhm.
So
But you stuck to those that had a lot of overlap in the least amounts of things together. You
yeah,
did project management, then practice management right after.
correct,
Obviously, we
correct.
know how that ended. You passed both of them. You
Yes.
felt like a champion.
Yeah, I was like, oh my God, I can't believe it. Um,
Yes,
I was so surprised, but then I'm like, okay, on to the next two.
okay,
But
excellent.
after I took a break.
That's right. There you go. You even, as you say, you're like, okay, I'm excited for the next one, but break time. That's it. And then you went back to what was after that. So practice and project were done. What was next?
Then I did PA.
PA. Okay. What did you decide to do PA? Following the same matrix?
Yeah, I just followed this matrix. I put my trust in this matrix, and I decided to do PA because it didn't include construction or systems. It was mainly site, codes, and pro practice,
So
which I already studied
here
much.
at our ARE session, what I promote the most is construction evaluation right after these first two. If you see
Yeah.
the overlaps on the content, you will see why I would
Hmm.
recommend that, right? So you're just
Yeah.
adding one additional dot to something that you
Yeah.
were already doing.
Yeah.
So
Well, I
that
mean, I was
that to
studying
me,
for PA and CE at the same time, pretty much. So
so it would but then you took programming next with CE right after that.
yeah, like a week apart.
Got it. So that still validates what we've been doing here, which is
Yes.
I recommend
Yes.
CE. PA, I don't have a place for it. I say either you could take it at the first, you could take it at the end, you could take it at the middle. I don't have a particular place for. I
Mm.
do gang up PDD and PPD, and
Mm.
sometimes I do
Yep.
recommend CE to be right after, then CE and then right after PDD, because you still do have to have some contractual knowledge from PDD. So PDD has a ton of PCM and PAM, by the way, project management, practice management, and construction evaluation, they all have a whole lot of that. So I think that you already come strong with the contractual side and obligations into PDD. And of course, the fun part, because PDD, we like what we do. We like the construction documents. We like the drawings. We like all that stuff. So we don't like the management and project management and construction evaluation side. Like most people don't like that stuff. I don't think anybody, I have never heard of anybody that says, I'm going to architecture school because I love the practice, the practice management and the project management. Nobody says that. People say, I love the programming, or I love the planning, or I love the drawing, right? So that part I leave for last. But yeah, so that makes perfect sense. So you then pass programming analysis and construction evaluation. And then you move on to those other two. Then last two. Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. And so how long did it take you then overall? Like a year?
The last test I took January 24 this year, 2022. And the first test I took November 25th, 2020.
Yeah. So like about a year. A little over.
Yeah.
Well, don't count the fail. So I guess it was just about a year. You don't count those.
If I don't count the fail, it was like less than a year. But if I count the fail, it was like a little more than a year, maybe a year and a half.
Okay, keep on going through the presentation. Keep on going.
So my study hours, what I did was I dedicated myself.
By the way, Safa and Albelis, you're getting prime information. I was not expecting these kinds of charts and presentation. This is, you see, that's why I said the rules of success show up, right? Like if you didn't show this, you're getting so much value out of these videos. I'm telling you, the YouTube channel is gonna go through the roof. This is like amazing stuff that you're getting.
I was gonna say thank you so much, Chris. We really appreciate it.
Hope this is helpful.
It is.
Yeah, I'm always like, if somebody asks me to give them advice, I'm always like, hell yeah, I'm gonna tell you so much. Like I'm gonna make your ears bleed. So get ready. Because it's almost like NCARB is like, it's like us against them in some ways, you know. I mean, we need to know this, but it's like I feel like NCARB is like our enemy. So
that I don't support on this channel, but yes, I don't support that part. I actually think differently about NCARB because I was on that side, Chris.
Yeah.
And I have my little spiel on it. I'll tell you, I hated on NCARB so much. Like I will go to their channel, to their forum, and I would say all these negative things about the process and how it wasn't fair and how it wasn't right. And then they asked recent architects to apply for the rethink tank. And I'm like, I'm applying. And I was writing. And they read through it. And then they told me afterwards that they were laughing. And they said, we need Darwin here. Why? Because we need the most advocate, the most like, active person on our channel, because I also will have bipolar moments. And they actually told me that they would ask themselves, what's Darwin's mood today? They were like, what's Darwin's mood today? Because I would go take an exam, not know my results, because my results weren't instant back then. I took them in 2016, 16. 16. So, and I will be, this is not right. This is not fair. The process is not fair. The time is too short. Who can answer a question in 2 minutes per question, less than 2 minutes per question? This is not how we run a practice. This is not how we do it. So I would, bash and go crazy. And then like the next day I would come back and think, now when you don't know your results, what if these people can control your results depending on what you just said? And I would be like, I apologize. I was under so much stress. That was so funny. I was like, I was under so much stress with this. And I really want to pass. This means a lot to me. This is a process that's fair and genuine. But of course, I didn't think so. I didn't really think so. So they would really ask, Nick, it would really ask, like, what's Darwin's mood today? It's like, what did Darwin say today? They will be at the office like, yeah, let's see what Darwin's doing today. But it was really an interesting process. And because I became part of the think tank, I was able to And I'm not going to interrupt too much more because I do want your value information. I was able to see it from within. And after seeing it from within and the genuine feeling of it, the genuine processes that, like knowing who makes the exams, how they train each one of the members. In fact, I was part of one of the committees for the committees for the PVD. So it's like, oh, I know how they make these questions. I really do. Some of them are horrible. That's true. But it is a very delicate process. It's not like they just didn't pull it out of their, it is a legit process. Just like you have a process for this, they follow a protocol for making questions.
Yeah.
Doesn't guarantee success. Your process doesn't guarantee success. You could have gone on forever. It just guarantees that you're going to go forever.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the only thing. Is like I was gonna keep on going. Yeah. Well, I mean, like I don't disagree with it. It's just like I just saw them as the enemy. As I was going through this process.
You and
Now I'm like,
everybody
oh,
else.
it's okay.
You're not the only one. It's true. You're not. Yeah. Mike is one of them too. So if you were taking tests and training with Mike Risica, you know that he's one of those
Oh yeah.
against all. He's really against NCARB, against the cost for tests. He's probably at the same time a very very good advocate, because we need somebody in the other side, right? Like we can't be all rainbows and flowers. Somebody has to, it's too bad that he doesn't know what the Aries 5.0s really are like, because he hasn't taken that. He took it really all,
Yeah.
But yeah.
That's the thing about Amber books. Michael Ehrman took the Amber books. He supposedly he was the first one to pass all 6 of them in the US.
Wow.
So like he did ARE 4.0, then he did 5.0 so that he could produce this material. All right, so dedicating study hours. So what I did was I would do 3 hours a day. Work day, weekends, 3 hours a day. So it would equal 20 hours a week. I would fall behind. Of course, I would fall behind. And like during the weekend, I would try to make up those hours. Sometimes during the week, I can only, do like 1 or 2 hours during the week. But if I made up those hours in the weekend, I would be better. But generally, as I was getting closer to the test date, I would be more consistent. And then I would actually write it in my agenda, how many hours I would do of studying each day. That way I hold myself accountable. And that I didn't do any more than 21 hours, unless it was like the week before the exam. So if I got ahead, like I would earn that break. But I wouldn't do it. My goal was to do 21 hours a week.
So you really stuck to those rules, like to the T.
I had to. I was like, the failure is like, it hit me so hard. I was like, no, this isn't, I'm changing everything. But this is actually something that I learned in Michael Risica's boot camp, the ARE boot camp. He taught and like really pushed for this. So like this is an example of what I did to study for the PCM and PJM. So week 1, I did the pro practice sections. I studied all the pro practice and code stuff. Then I did a bunch of flashcards. Then I reviewed contracts for week 4. And then I took the practice exam. Then I looked at the results of the practice exam. I would look at the questions that I got wrong on the practice exam by like studying that material or like watching YouTube videos, whatever it was. 6 and 7, I would repeat it. Basically repeat everything that I did before. I wouldn't even take notes though. I didn't take notes because I just did it over and over and over and over again. The only time I would take notes is after the practice exam, the questions that I got wrong. Those are the only parts that I would take notes so that I could kind of hopefully set it in more in my brain. But I don't know if it made a difference, but I just did it. And then week 8, before the exam, I would take the practice exam, review the feedback, and like study the material that I got wrong. So then let's say I would take PJM on week 8 after all of this. Take PJM. After PJM, I would write down what I went over on the test, and then I take a practice exam for PCM, and then I would look at the results of PCM practice exam, and then like study the things that I got wrong. And then after like 3 or 4 days, no, probably like 2 days before the actual test, I'd be starting to feel like more and more burnt out. And I would take the day off from work too, like the day before the test. So like if I took the test on a Monday, I wouldn't work Monday, but then I take off Friday, so that I could study Friday all through the weekend and then take the exam on Monday. And so like, Saturday, Sunday, I'd start like burning out. So I would watch more YouTube videos about the exam material so that I would still be like studying, but I wouldn't be like so intensely focused on the material, like reading and like doing that hard studying technique that would just like take up so much energy. So yeah, that was pretty much,
No,
that was really helpful.
This is great. Yeah.
Yeah, this is just like how to enroll in Amber book. I'll share the slide so you'll see this, but I'm not going to talk about it. Okay, so test day. So every day I would take a practice exam. I would go through the day as if I was testing. So then when I would go do the test, the actual test at the testing center, nothing would be different. So I'd eat the same food. One time, this is dumb. Like one time I took the practice exam with a mask on because it was the same. But like after that, I was like, this is dumb. I'm not gonna do this again. But I tried to like recreate the experience as much as possible so that nothing would be a surprise.
Again, that's where the military training comes into play, man. You
Yeah.
have to think of all of the unthinkable scenarios as to how things could play out, and you have to be ready for them. So it doesn't surprise me that you did that. And in fact, I think we had Jefferson, one of our graduates already from the AREs. He even said I would actually put my mask and I would test how it was and my breathing, because it was different to breathe with a mask. So
so and so then show up on test day, show up early. I had a little bag, like a little backpack for test day, and in it I put everything in it. I didn't have any pens, I didn't have anything in my pockets. I show up for test day and I have like a zip up sweater. So I would wear it into the testing room, and if I wasn't cold, I would just take it off and put it on the chair. But I wouldn't carry it in with my hand. I think they have some rule where you can't carry things in, you have to wear it. So that's what I did. I would wear like a sweater, but I'd take it off if I wasn't cold. So in this bag, I would carry my keys, wallet. I had a protein bar. I had panic notes, which is basically like a cheat sheet. Something sugary, Gatorade, earplugs. So the earplugs in a testing center, they suck. They're so uncomfortable. So I got my own from CVS. Comfortable mask. I went ahead and bought a mask instead of using the surgical ones. I bought a nice comfortable one, and then dress comfortably. So I don't think any of this is like, I think most people know this, but.
So literally you went through everything that you would need. Like, here I am, here's what I do, here's what I need. So that's another really great skill as a designer, Chris. You probably know we got to figure ourselves out and put ourselves into so many different situations. If it's a house you're designing, I open the door, I put the keys here, I sit there, I put my jacket here. So as you were doing this, you were really thinking through the motions and being very aware of yourself, even your bathroom breaks, or what would make you go to the bathroom when you don't want it to.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
even thought about your food.
Exactly.
So all of that stuff was very, very well put together. Um, I was gonna say something. It's not funny, but my girlfriend will love you because you're probably a very organized and neat person. I'm a catastrophe of a person. So, but it's like, nah, it's like I'll eat whatever, whenever. I'll do anything, whenever, in any way. And it's like, dude, like I don't.
Yeah.
So I bet things are neat, and anything drives you nuts if it's not. Probably you'll be
Well,
like,
I mean, yeah, everybody's different. You know, the reason why I did all this stuff was just like to maximize my success rate. So like, it's like to reduce the possibility of anything going wrong. So I mean, but everybody has their own techniques. Like people on this call, they'll be like, I'm not gonna bring a protein bar. Like, hell no, that's disgusting. Like, I'm gonna bring a sandwich, or I'll go to the supermarket and get something during break. You know, you have time off, go get something. I don't know, but for me, like I came in prepared, you know, and I had this kind of like rehearsed day. The day was rehearsed, like when I did the practice exams of what I was gonna do, so that I would do the same thing.
I'm trying to train people here at Flow to be like a little bit of a mindset of a checklist when they come to the office and follow certain criteria of items that they need to do. You know, sometimes I see people working on two projects right at the same time, literally one Revit model and another Revit model. I'm like, no, well, you got to be procedural. You got so, but no, everybody is like that, and we're not machines, we're humans, right? But following, you know, you literally stuck to your plan. You didn't have any moment, like, you know, like if you have, so you have a diet, you got to eat certain kind of food. You're the kind of person that would just literally never fail. Like I will get ice cream, buddy. I will really get ice cream. Like
Okay,
that's
after
it.
the test. After the test, I get ice cream.
So you would break all the rules after within your break time. You're like, this is my one. That's why you gave yourself a month, right? Like after the passing the test, they
Yeah, I
will
do
give.
whatever I want. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. After
Oh.
passing or failing, actually. So
Yeah, yeah,
I
exactly.
gotta point that out. Whether you passed or failed, you said it. You will celebrate after the exam. So that was good.
Yeah, yeah,
That's really good.
yeah. It's like treating, like in a way, it's kind of like treating it for work. Like you show up for work, you do the work, and then you're done. Like show up for the test, you do the test, and then you're done. Like pass or fail, you still enjoy yourself afterwards. I mean, you earn it.
That's
Even if
right.
you fail, you still earn it.
Yeah, I always tell people, you know, fail is first attempt at learning, they call it, or in learning, right?
Yeah.
Fail. And also, I actually recommend a lot of people to fail. Not recommend, I just say, listen, prepare for a fail, period.
Yeah.
Do your
Yeah.
best, hit it as hard as you can, try to defy me on it and try to pass it. But I'll tell you, you got to prepare for one or two fails, you know, along the way. And Miranda, she's no longer with us. She already passed, and it's living her life now. So she was ready to fail everyone, and she did fail every one of them, and she passed after like the second or third time in many of them, and that was her way of doing it. And I was like, well, if in your process you're going to, you know, if I tell you, if you play the lottery 100 times, at some point you're going to get 1 million. Wouldn't you play it 100 times? You're gonna play the whole lottery every day just so you get to the 100 times. You're like, no, I already know what's gonna happen. So I told her, if I told you that you will pass all of your ARES exams on the third trial, you would just rush to get through the third trial. You're like, I'm going next week. I'm going again. So I think that's also a good way of seeing it. If you pass on the first trial, great, that's perfect. But hey, I promised you 3, right? So it's the third one. That's when you're gonna get it. If you didn't, great, you know. And it turns out that you did it at each one of them at the third trial. So that's good.
So yeah, walked in with sweater, earplugs in my pocket, mask on, ID in my pocket. Everything else I kept in a bag, put in the locker. Also, so if you get to the testing booth and it's right next to the door, tell them you want a different booth. They can move you. Just don't sit. If you start or if you sit down, if you start to test, you're stuck there. But if you, before you sit down, you said, I can't sit there. I'm going to get distracted. Give me another booth, please. They're going to move you. It's like, it's okay. So don't sit down unless you're satisfied with the testing booth.
That's another one, and I keep interrupting you, buddy. I'm sorry, but
Yeah,
it's
it's good.
about so you know your limits, you know where you're comfortable at, and you know where you're not comfortable with. And a lot of people, and I try to teach more than just the Aries, like as you could probably see. Like I'm trying to just get people to be successful as architects, in whatever they do. But there's rules in the situation where you're going to be, and there's also a little bit of you putting your own rules within the situation you're going to be. And a lot, like my girlfriend, whenever we go anywhere, she's like, I know you're gonna ask for a discount, and I'm like, I am, I have rules. I'm like, listen, or like they're being very loud there in that place where I'm sitting or where I'm eating or whatever, or whatever. It could be anything. I'm just not going to just accept things as they are because they are. I'm going to wonder, is there anything else to it? I'm not comfortable. I'm not happy. I'm not good. Something is not right about this. You know what I mean? So, and then either I make it better as an institution, wherever I go, like, because they're going to try to improve upon it. And I'm like the oddball that make things be better, or I'm going to improve from learning from their situation into how I can apply it into something else myself. So I'm not sure if everybody understands. Like, it's not like what you see is what you get in life. It's really not. Like, I've actually been able to go to like 7-star hotels and be at the top suite because my suite wasn't ready, and I would look at it and say, listen, that does not look right, and they say the only one available is such, and I'm like, guess where I'm going to be, and I'm not paying extra. You know what I mean? Like, actually in Cancun, I was like, and I'm not paying extra for it because it's your problem, not mine. So you got to be able to, you have rights. You have to be able to play. You can't, no, don't be a jerk about it, but we all have a brain for a reason. So you said this, and I bet you any of them would have sat down at I'm telling you, any of these people on this call would have sat right by the door and be, what you see is what you
really
get. Oh, you would have complained, Joanna?
Oh, you don't know me then yet.
So that's good. That's what I like to hear. You would have said, I am moving from that door. Like every time people open the door and close the door, dude, like that's insane, right? Yeah, but a lot of people just adapt. And I'll tell you, I come from a background where we got to be thankful for everything. We're humble. We come from nothing. We got to accept things as they are. And as I've been growing, I've learned that no, you've seen the little brats ask for things and they get them. So sometimes you got to be the brat that sets the rules. You're like, the rules of the engagement are as follows, period. Even when you do a negotiation, you say, these are my rules of engagement. This is how it's going to work. And I'm willing to walk away if things aren't going to work that way. And if they want to meet me halfway, we'll talk about it. We're probably going to meet 75%, but not 50-50. I'm not going to accept the 50-50 because I don't split the difference. So you got all those rules. And I've met people that have gotten away in business by doing that every single day in every interaction. And they're successful. You're like, they're jerks. I'm like, I don't care. Their kids go to great schools. They have a great life. You don't just accept things because. There's always another way around things, and I'm not talking about illegal. I'm talking about there's always another smoother way where everybody can win, So we just have to find it. But yeah, that was my 2 cents on that.
Yeah, and also like as you celebrate the exam, like make sure you just stay in touch with those supporting you through the process to like remind them, oh, thank you for being so patient with me, or thank you for time, like letting me give up my time to my career progression while you like take care of the kids. Or I don't have any kids, but like this is like so important, like because without your support, then like you're not able to get through the exam successfully because there's more stuff on your mind.
And it's funny, but it sounds like you did it all alone, even though
I did.
Like,
Yeah.
you know, but you are very aware of whatever little help there was around your support system, because you must
Yeah.
have had a support system, somebody that knew your process and
Yeah.
say, hey, listen, Chris does not accept calls from X, we're not gonna call him, period. You know, we're gonna respect that.
Yeah.
Chris is not gonna go party tonight. You know what I mean? Like, people are like
Yeah.
respecting that, and even
Right.
that alone is part of their process. You know, it's like
Yeah.
people deal with grief differently, right? So respecting the way people deal with their own inner processes is very important. So that's very good. It's very good.
Testing sites. So I don't, it's different. This doesn't even apply because it's new testing centers.
Well,
Um,
we can talk about. I mean, you can't compare it, but we have Abelis who has already taken tests. Abelis, you took a PSI test, right?
No, no, no yet.
Oh no,
They
that's fine.
they haven't started. I think this is the first week on PSI.
All right, we're gonna be getting some PSI soon. And just so you know,
Right.
Safa and Bernarda, that's they've moving from Prometric into a new testing administrator. Like, it's a company that administers the test. Pretty much the same test. It's just that it is the same test. It's just a different portal, a different environment, a different, you know,
Location.
it's like getting McDonald's at a Burger King. You know what I mean? Like, you're still getting the same burger. It's just at a different location. Yeah, exactly. So the
And
experience
they're
will vary.
farther.
They will vary, you know. Oh, so yeah, Chief, that's one big one. They're all a lot farther away from these ones.
The
There's none
metro
even
area.
in Boston. There's not even one, right, Albelis? There's not one in
No,
Boston.
I've
from
been in the one in Concord.
that's far.
Well, I just thought of a
No, but
business. I
I
just thought
am
of a business
I'm
idea. I'll buy a license of that because it's probably a franchise, and we'll probably have one in Boston. It's gonna boom.
Yeah, there's no one. There's one and it shows up in Cambridge. And no, not Cambridge. It's not Cambridge. It's Charlestown, but it doesn't like it shows up in Google Maps. But when you try to schedule the exam, they don't show you that as an option. Or maybe they're just too full. They don't even show it. But I think the closer to me is Worcester, and I'm like, that's far.
I wonder if they have still Concord because I don't want to go far. Because for me, it's like 35 minutes, 40 minutes from where I live, which is the same as going to Boston, to be honest. It's in between the way for me, but going to Concord here in New Hampshire is like free, not much traffic. Going to Boston is like a lot of traffic. So I would prefer Concord. I hope it's still there.
You know, me, I will call this test center, the one that you says booked, Albelis. I would cry about whatever and say, hey, listen, I've been trying to test what's going on, what's the situation, and find out. If anything, you're gonna get some insight that probably a lot of people don't get because a lot of people don't even bother to call. So you would just be able to get some information about it, and you can bring it to the group and add value to the group. So I'll call and figure it out. I don't guarantee you're gonna get a squeezed into the test, but yeah, it's a way. Or maybe they don't even know. That's another thing. A lot of people, a lot of portals have issues. They don't even know about them. Like, my own website has some grammar issues and some issues with pictures. I didn't know about it. Like how many times do I go check my own website? I mean, that's too narcissistic to be checking yourself out 24/7, you know. But it took some people to take a look at it and let us know. So that's it. Great.
Last thing, testing accommodations. So if you have any kind of diagnosed special needs, you need to bring it up to NCARB and you need to fill out a form so that you can get more time during your breaks, so you can get more testing time, so you can get a separate testing room, so that you can get anything that can help you pass. If you think you might have special needs like ADHD, Asperger's, whatever, dyslexia, anything, bring it up, get it diagnosed as soon as you can, and bring it up to NCARB so that you can fill out the form and then you can get testing accommodations for more time, more breaks, separate testing room.
By the way, I had no idea about this.
You can also add something else to that list because I asked before when I took the test. You know how they took away like paper and pencil? He's the person over there when I took it in Boston say that can be part of the accommodation. So you need to contact NCARB. So if you want to be allowed to use paper and a pencil in the room for the test, they're not allowed to, you can do that as well. But of course,
This
done
is
by
this
them.
is what I'm talking about. This is when you actually dig into things. You would not know this unless you really thoroughly went through it and thought about all of the different things. What if I'm not well? What if I have an issue? Like there, I actually thought I thought a lot was wrong with me when I was taking this test. I was like, what if I'm unable to pass? Like literally like somebody that has some sort of deficiency that's just literally unable to pass. And then I would of course go back like, okay, Darwin, you graduated summa cum laude, you're good. There's no, you know, like you got A's on every studio, you got an A on every, like, dude, there's nothing wrong with you. But it's like that, a sense of unpreparedness. Even if you're really prepared, I never thought I was really prepared. So I was like,
Yeah.
what if I'm just unable to pass? And the thing is, I also put a lot in the line, Chris, which I didn't see you do. So I already knew I was going to open Flow. In fact, Flow was already Flow Design. It was just not Flow Design Architects. So I already wanted to launch a practice. I already had a son with someone I was going to divorce, and a baby girl was coming, and I knew the relationship wasn't going to work. And me walking out of the relationship as a broke, non-licensed, not firm, and person going through even the process of divorce, which is nasty. So I don't think anybody would actually even hire me. Like I would actually, as good as I could be, I wouldn't have the brains to be able to process those things at the same time. So I was taking it as though I was going to die. Like my life depended on me passing these AREs. In fact, I quit my job when I had 2 exams left because I already had Flow, but it wasn't a thing. A lot of people thought it was just a design competition group that will get together and do design competition, which is what we did. That's true. But the plan was bigger than that. And then with 2 exams left, I said to everybody within the Flow organization, if I am able to quit my job and I am able to study full time, I will pass these exams within the next 3 months. And then we'll be able to change our status across the board. And then we'll become profitable because we weren't making anything, probably like $8,000 a year. And it will all fall into place. So I really, really needed to pass, which is something I didn't see that on you. I didn't see that rush on you. I didn't see that desire of like that yearn, like a strong feeling of getting it. You were more like, I will eventually become an architect. I know this is the career path I love, and I don't care how long it takes me. I'm already doing what I love, so I'm good, right? Like I didn't see that as I need this to get a raise so that I can actually support my family, so that I can actually move on to the next step in my life. Like you didn't have that, even though you started the conversation by saying you started late, which I didn't get the sense that you started late. Now knowing your story and knowing that you went to the military or whatever, army, whatever, right? So you were part of that. And knowing the story, now I know why you think you started late, but you didn't. So one thing is what you said, and one thing is how you said it and how you experienced it. It didn't look, this is ironic. You moved like a turtle that was faster than those that were racing. Or the way you said it was like, I'm going to take 2 exams every 4 months, going to take a break within those 4 months and take 2 more exams within 4 months, and I will eventually pass. And I don't have a due date, right? It's not a baby. I'm not gonna give birth. I don't have a deadline, and I'm just gonna keep doing this thing, and I'm gonna keep doing. Literally, I'm gonna keep doing my thing.
Yeah.
What if you
Darwin,
fail? I'm gonna keep doing my thing. What if I can keep doing my thing?
Darwin, I think the circumstances also are different because he was late, but nothing to probably pressure him the way you and I, for example, we pressure because of kids and family and situations. And to me, I was late. I felt that I was late because I came from Dominican Republic and I left the career halfway baked. And I came and it took me forever to start. And then I was rushing. I was like, I'm late. I'm like, I want to eat the life. Like, I want to eat the school. I want to finish quick enough. And it still feels done quick enough because the time feels to pass very slowly, though it's been more than 8 years when I finished even a master's. But you and I feel the same way, like we need to go to the next step. What's next? What's next? What's next? And even though he's talking the same way, he has a more peaceful pace.
I
Both you
actually,
and I.
in retrospect, I would have loved to be able to do it as Chris, but I cannot
Yeah.
change. I cannot change that path I took. And I'll tell you, not
Yeah.
because I can't go back in time, which is the obvious answer, but because it turned out all right. Let me check. Range Rover at the parking lot. Office is great. Moving to a new office. Divorce and not broke. That's actually great. So I think that you know, looking at it, I guess I could see what was coming, and I knew I needed to get there. But I also I put way too much pressure on myself. You know, I really wish I could do it as Chris. And in the ideal scenario, I would have never, well, then I wouldn't have the kids, but I would have never gotten into that situation. I would have just actually focused on what you were doing. You know, I mean, I already had kids when DJ was at my graduation. Like, he was there with me. So it was like, you know, which is fun. It's great too. But I'm saying I wish I had not, but I can't change that. Same idea. Circumstances are completely different. I moved from one country to another. I had already started in another university in the Dominican Republic. I was halfway through there already too. So, and then started it all over. All of my friends in the DR were already like with kids and married and everything. So I was like, dude, like I'm behind. But then I also made it a rule, more, you know, like I felt like this pipeline of architects that I'm trying to put my 2 cents onto, and a little grain of you know, my little 2 cents would not be able to happen if I hadn't done that, so that flow could exist as an architectural office. So it's like, you know, I'm like, it's just not about me. So whenever I had arguments with people about, oh, you're taking this too seriously, why didn't you take a break from graduation into taking the exams? Why didn't you? And I was like, this is me. This is my way of doing things. This is how I like doing things. I cannot object emotion stay in motion. So the moment I stop, I'm dead. That's it. Like I'm dead. So but I really think that a lot of people have a lot to see on your process. And it doesn't work for a lot of people. I don't think it works. I don't think all of this works 100% for 100% of the people. I think probably 60 to 70% of it's gonna work for a lot of people. Because you have a level of discipline that's unlike any. You're not normal, because actually military training makes people not be normal. You know the no I'm saying, you know, the average.
No,
You know
for
the
real.
average person.
Yeah,
I mean,
yesterday I went for a run and I run with a 36-pound vest and boots. I went for a run for 2 miles with my dog, and she was more exhausted than I am. So I know I'm not normal.
I'm telling you. So that's you know, I don't want to also, like, whoever's watching these, whenever they're watching it, I don't want themselves to put like, oh my gosh, this guy studied 21 hours. It's not one size fits all. Everybody's got their own process. This is one way of doing it that actually worked out for him. But there were a couple of things. One, you know yourself very, very well. You know what you're capable of doing, what you're not capable of doing, and under what circumstances you're capable of working. You know what I mean? Like, and we all are superheroes within our own stories. So that's, I guess I gotta say that again. We are all superheroes within our own stories, right? So Joanny has her own story, and I tell you, she's not a villain in it. She's actually the superhero. So you know, at least for her kids, she is for sure. So you know, and Albelis is her own superhero, right? But you know, Safa already has the picture with the cape too, the graduation cape. But is a superheroine too. So knowing what your level of resistance level, you know, like you know, mitigating within yourself what you're able to do, what you're not able to do, give and take, and say, this is my sweet spot. You actually did it wrong at the beginning. You had to do it wrong so that you know how to do it right.
Yeah.
Everything you did for that first exam was probably wrong.
Yeah, I needed the feedback. Yeah.
Amount of hours, kinds of groups, intensity, timing, it was all probably overload. So you're like, you went back and created this plan, and it proved to work, which is really, really, really miraculous. So I'll open it up to everybody. You know, Chris here again, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for, like, you know, any other feedback, you can jump right at it. But I do want to have Joanny, Albeli, Safa, you know, if you have anything else to share, that's fine too. pick your brains, guys. Go at it.
Trying to get out of full screen. Am I still sharing my screen?
You are. Can I do I stop you?
Yeah.